Okay, guys, we are going to solve this problem, and the first step is always to add both equations and see if by doing that I'm going to be able to eliminate one of the choices. So I'm going to add these two and see if that works. If I add 6x plus 6x, it will give me 12x. If I'm adding negative 3 plus 8, it will give me 5y. And this one, 6 minus 16, it would be negative 10. You don't need to write down this step. Sometimes just visually you can tell that none of the variables get eliminated. So by just adding the equations, I'm not going to be able to solve this problem. So that means that I'm going to have to work on something else. Again, you don't need to write that step that I just erased. You can do it mentally. But if you need to write it down, go ahead and write it down. So unfortunately, these two equations, by just adding them, I cannot eliminate a variable, but I can see that I have a 6x and a 6x over here. So technically they could eliminate if one of them was negative. So I'm gonna make one of them negative. Let me try that. I think I'm gonna make this one negative by multiplying by negative 1. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by negative 1. So I'm going to multiply here by negative 1, and I'm going to multiply this by negative 1. So that means that every single number in the equation is going to be multiplied by negative 1. Now, multiplying by a negative 1 is a fancy way to say that I'm just changing the signs of the numbers. So, for example, when I'm multiplying here by negative 1, this 6x that was positive becomes negative. Why? Because negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. Then this one becomes negative 8y, I'm sorry. So why? Because negative 1 times positive 8 gives me negative 8. And then negative 1 times negative 16 is just positive 16. So by multiplying by negative 1, basically I'm changing the signs. I'm changing the sign of this one, the sign of this one, and the sign of this one. The top equation stays the same right now, so I'm going to just rewrite it, making sure that I'm lining up the numbers so it's easier to do the math. So now I'm ready to add my equations. Now my 6x's are going to be eliminated because positive 6 minus 6 is 0. Negative 3 minus 8 would be negative 11. And 6 plus 16, it would give me 22. Then, since the negative 11 is multiplying the y, to get rid of it, I'm going to divide by 11. Negative 11, sorry. We need to pay attention to the signs. So negative 11 divided by negative 11 will give me 1. So 1y equals 22 divided by negative 11 would give me negative 2. So now I have one of my variables. So I'm going to find the other variable. To find the other variable, I'm going to get any of the equations, and I'm going to put the negative 2 where the y is. So this negative y equal negative 2 means that this y that I have over here should be negative 2. Or you can put it in this one, in this equation. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to use this one. So in the first equation, I have 6x minus 3y equal to 6. So, but now I know that y is equal to negative 2. So I'm going to plug that number in my equation. So negative 3 times negative 2 equals 6. Negative 3 times negative 2 gives me positive 6. The 6x is still the same, and the 6 is over here. Okay, so I'm going to continue. The x is only in one side of the equation. There is no variable here, so which is great. So that means that I want to isolate the variable next. So that means that I need to get rid of this 6. So since this one is positive, I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides. When I do that, these cancel out because positive 6 minus 6 is 0. The 6x comes down like this. And also here, 6 minus 6 is just 0. Okay, so I'm going to divide both sides by 6. So that gives me 6 divided by 6 is 1. So 1x is equal to 0 because 0 divided by 6 is 0. So the solution for my system of equations would be the x needs to be 0 and the y needs to be -2.